first of all, thank you for joining IBC Summit in Seoul. I'm really excited to see you everyone in person. I am Bora. I manage protocol partnerships for Keplr Wallet. It's really great to see you, and I'm really honored to sit with these amazing validators that's really active on Cosmos. So yeah, could you guys do a short introduction of yourself and the validator and the thesis that you guys are trying? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Gorany from Cosmostation team. We are a dedicated Cosmos validator since 2018. We've been validating Cosmos since the genesis of Cosmos chain, and now we're validating more than 60 plus Cosmos chains. Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
We try to be really like Cosmos native and try to like bootstrap all the Cosmos chains and be supportive. And our thesis as a validator, I'll say, is we try to grow together with our partner chains. When we start validating a chain, we don't just do the validator nodes. We support them with Minscan product, and we support them with Cosmostation wallet and SDKs. So when we start like working with chain, we want them to really grow and get onboarded to the Cosmos ecosystem as a whole. Yeah, that's about it.
Hey, my name is Ethan Lee. I'm co-founder of 841. And unlike all these other celebrities, our team is relatively a very new team. It's been only a year since we started. And our thesis as a validator is supporting the tokenization of every assets as an infrastructure player. And we believe such future would like benefit entire like economy as a whole. So we are striving to support such future to come as a blockchain infrastructure player. And we are active on a lot of the Cosmos chains, and we're currently active on like 15 different like blockchains at this moment in time.
Hi, my name is Sam, and I am from Node Guardians. We are basically a bunch of gamers and engineers that are trying to build a game for seasoned smart contract programmers and security researchers, where they get to basically like challenge their skills on different kind of CTFs and puzzles. But beyond that, because I also started dabbling with validation back in the like EOS days in 2018 and some other networks, I wanted to also have a part of our, let's say, activity that focuses on that aspect. And so if you take a look at the lore in Node Guardians, everything revolves about making the networks that we support more decentralized by contributing as validators, but also by building resources for these ecosystems. That is to say, the programming challenges and organizing different initiatives like hackathons and CTFs, et cetera, et cetera. So our thesis is that we want to support across different verticals the projects that we find the most compelling, but we don't want to spread ourselves too thin. We try to onboard networks like at a reasonable pace and make sure that we have enough resources to support them beyond just providing witness nodes, validators, RPCs, snapshots, but also providing like our whole subset of resources so that we can grow with them and have an impact on these. And we take governance seriously. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah, hi. I'm Tree from bHarvest, and we're also Genesis validators on the hub. We've been in business since 2018, validating on around 25 to 30 different chains right now. We also incubated a AMM order book hybrid DEX on Cosmos called Crescent. And bHarvest operates in 4 different sections. Obviously the validators like these guys, but we also have a market making team, a R&D center, and then we also have a community and marketing consultancy that we work with other chains. And especially we obviously as validators, we talk about the tech and how we can secure chains better. But at bHarvest, we also, since the beginning of Cosmos, we built up this culture within Cosmos. So we focus a lot on how governance and validator operation affects the culture and the thesis of the hub itself. So we try to contribute and participate in ways other than just tech. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you guys. So I think we've already like talked about this kind of connects to this previous question. But if there's like one like criteria that you consider when you decide like to like validate a chain, is there anything that's like really important for you guys? Like who wants to go first? Maybe Sam?
Thanks for having me and So I had the tender mint block to figure out my answers, but I'll be more than glad to provide some more insights about how we basically assess networks before like getting involved as validators. So as I introduced it on like just like a few minutes ago, we take different primitives, different verticals. Like within the interchain, we're going to take a look at a few general purpose smart contract environments. When it comes to Ethereum scaling initiatives, we're going to try to, let's say, assess different optimistic approaches and validity proof-based approaches. And just pick 2 or 3 out of this and witness carefully how these projects like start, develop, etc. Get in touch with the team, go on the discourse forum to propose a few things, to understand what are the dynamics and the different stakeholders of the network. And when we feel that this is something that we would like to get involved with, we take a step ahead and try to provide services to that network, different resources, get involved with the team, and approach that network. There's also another parameter that we take. Either it is something that has a purpose or offers a service that we judge is really critical, like we really love what Anoma is doing, Namada is doing, with like when it comes to intent centricity and sovereignty. That's a brand new branch. We'll get involved with it, but we also take strongly into account not the TAM, but the economical value that the ecosystem is projected to capture. As I said earlier, we would love to support as many chains as possible, but this takes a lot of bandwidth, and for our job to be meaningful or as meaningful as possible, we really try to limit the set of networks that we support. So yeah, to make it simple, we take different verticals, bridging, alt L1s, even among like Ethereum DVT approaches, we just try to take like 1 or 2 or 3 actors, and then we move forward with these, and we try to stay focused. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, thank you. Who else? Anyone?
Yeah, I think it's the same for a lot of validators, like what Sam said, but obviously validating isn't free. We like to market it, and our branding, it's about, like we're guarding the node. We're all node guardians, but
Welcome.
Oh,
Yeah, we are.
yes.
but it's a business, and obviously we have to think about ROI and how much resources it takes. So we divide the criteria into qualitative and quantitative. So quantitative could be anything from like investment size, the runway for the team, how many teams they have, and their scalability. And then after that, we look at like I told you guys that bHarvest is all about culture. So we think about how this chain contributes to the hub and how it can contribute to the expansion of the hub and the tech itself. So there's a lot of different factors that we put in together, but we can't just say there's one like specific criteria that will overthrow everything else. But I think it's more of like a package of what this chain can offer for us and Cosmos in general.
Yeah, at 841, I think we have the same view as bHarvest and the Guardians as well. There isn't a like golden like standard that we kind of look upon as a criteria, but there are multiple kind of like things that we look into, and there are several things that we look into sequentially. So first of all, we just look into the fact that whether this chain really does make sense, and the specific criteria might differ based on the type of each chain. So, for instance, like app chains on Cosmos, we tend to kind of look at it as more of a business itself rather than a blockchain, because each of the app chains are like laser focused on solving a specific problem and providing an application. So we analyze it from a more of a business perspective, whereas for the general purpose blockchains, we tend to focus more on what problem that the blockchain is trying to solve and how they're trying to achieve it. And after that, we also do look into the like long-term kind of like financial stability from like validating as a validator. So we must kind of consider that as well. As since Tree mentioned, validating isn't really free.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah, so at Cosmostation, we look at like how their team members are, their team member background, and I'll say like who are their partners, who invested in them, and how's their technology. Is it really something that brings the value to the ecosystem, or is it something that's already there and just another spin-off of already existing chain? But most importantly, we try to see if there's something we can contribute to the ecosystem as a node validator. We don't want to just be another node validator, just one of the 100 validators on a chain. We want to see if there's some value we can bring to the app chain, or like doesn't even have to be an app chain. It could be just another like L1 chain that's not a Cosmos as well. Like for instance, we can provide our infrastructure as a Block Explorer Minscan, or we can provide them with our wallet service like Cosmostation Wallet, or we help them with Cosmos SDK stuff, or like governance as well. And we analyze it, and then if there's no like value that we can bring to the ecosystem, then maybe they don't need us there. So we try to bring some value into a new chain, and then make them grow with us, so that we all grow together. I guess that's one of the most like, it's not really tangible criteria, but it's a intangible criteria we look at when we analyze a new chain.
Yeah, like these are really helpful, because like you will need a lot of like things to consider, because like validator is a business, and yeah, we need that. So because this is IBC Summit in Seoul, let's dive more into Cosmos. So recently in Cosmos there was this interchain security launch, which was really big, and I bet as a validator there were like some difficulties, I guess, when interchain security was launched. So I was just curious, how was it for you as a validator, and like what are some areas that you thought that needed improvements?
Oh.
Sam, maybe you want to go first again?
Overall, I think that we definitely support innovation on the hub, but we decided to vote no for the launch of Neutron as a consumer chain on the Cosmos Hub, because we were a bit disappointed by the level of readiness of the system as it was about to go into production. It doesn't mean that I really respect the work delivered by the P2P team. I think it's amazing, but it could have waited a little bit before going into production. I don't know if some of you in the room or on stage were doing the rehearsals and the different steps that were leading to that launch, but there were a lot of outages, halts, with sometimes the communication that was rather incomplete. We didn't have any technical incident on that aspect, but we just think that overall it's not something that should happen for a system that has like so much value at stake potentially. And should the system actually have liveness issues or other kind of technical problems, it would impact the stake that you're basically holding on the Cosmos Hub. I think that's definitely a danger to take into account, and we could just hope that there would be better practices and higher level of readiness overall before proposing to launch a consumer chain. And another thing that's that was I think also not great is the quality of the documentation and the way the launch was orchestrated. Some validators were basically being missing, and it's not their fault. I mean, everyone has a life, maybe something like that, but you know, it always ends up with that kind of shitstorm on Twitter where Jacob is going to tag you and tell you, "Hey, you validator number 47. I think that you should join the rehearsal. Like it's not the first time that you're missing that one. Oh, Figment acquired for $80 million, but still not able to show up for V9. Okay, I see. And like, yeah, it's great. It's very fun. We come for the vibes. I forgot to add this to the thesis and why we actually choose the network. But yeah, if we could just have better standards, it would be nice. So we don't end up having the headlines on the block on how the ICS launch was not a success. And then there are all the concerns on the financials, the economics of launching consumer chains, and how the value that they generate could potentially offset the cost of the infrastructure that supports it.
Yeah, I do have a similar take as Sam. I think we can do definitely a better job at like, coordinating the cooperations among the validators and the consumer chain. Because we are operating and collaborating at a global scale here, and validators are like, distributed all across the world, we should have enough lead time to prepare for an upgrade or to prepare for any kind of like incidents or launch itself. But we unfortunately for the neutron launch or like other like incidents happening on other like app chain launches, we see like very short amount of like time for the global validators to prepare for a given kind of event. So such thing or process should be definitely taken into account when preparing for such a important event.
And I remember at the launch of the neutron chain, we like in Korea time we were standby since like 12 a.m. At the night, and then we were expecting everyone to show up and then reach like 66% consensus, but then it took took several hours to get people to actually join the set. And then eventually after like 5-6 hours we're standby, and then we're almost there. And then Nokia was having trouble for some technical reason, like they were afraid of doing double signing and getting jailed. And then so we were like, okay, you gotta do this, and everyone was trying to help him produce blogs. And it was like one of the few moments Cosmos ecosystem got together as a whole, and like everyone was trying to help Nokia as a team, like okay. And then eventually, like through a few hours, they were able to produce blogs, and it was all good. But the problem was everyone was so nervous and like conservative, they didn't know what to do, and everyone didn't want to get slashed. And then getting slashed on Cosmos chain is a big deal. You can't really risk that. But it's a whole new chain, Neutron. Maybe we need more like training or tutorials or guides for validators, as in how to join how to get on board to ICS. And like I know right now we are doing testnet launch for Duality and Stride last night. If there's a new like mainnet ICS chain launching again, I hope there is like a better guidance and participation from all the validators, because like it's safety first. Like validators gotta be really safe. We're not really just dealing with our assets. We're getting delegated by our delegators, and we don't want to risk their money. It's not just our money; it's our delegators' money.
Yeah, I think our experiences were all pretty similar with both ICS and Neutron. We're actually looking more into because there's a lot of risk in implementing ICS as a validator, because if you're, for instance, slashed on the consumer chain, then you're also slashed in the provider chain. So there's a lot of things that we're also researching as service providers, and also politically and the culture itself. We also think about will there be discrimination between a chain that decides to launch as a consumer chain as opposed to a standalone app chain? What will be the relationships between these chains? Whether you decide to adopt hub security or not, will there be a difference in terms of marketing or your PR around your chain? So we're looking into a lot of different aspects of ICS itself and real-world applications. But the tech itself, we do agree that it's necessary, and but there's a lot of improvements to be done from here.
Well, but just by listening to this, I feel like you guys are really solid validators, and I gotta delegate my tokens to you guys. But this is not a financial advice, so just yeah. And another new topic that's really hot is liquid staking and IBC. So unlike Ethereum, most of the Cosmos interchain liquid staking is done through IBC. And what do you guys think are some strengths and weaknesses of the liquid staking through IBC?
Well, So Cosmos liquid staking is a little different from like Ethereum liquid staking, as in because the big major players of liquid staking Cosmos right now is like Stride and Quicksilver and PSake. But like unlike Ethereum, we have to start from Cosmos chain and then go to Stride chain, and then either come back to Cosmos chain or use that stake Atom as an asset. So if you want to use that, you gotta send IBC transaction from Cosmos to Stride and then Osmosis. So there's like already two IBC transactions that require liquid staking. And sometimes IBC paths can be really confusing. Do I have to go from Cosmos to Stride and then come back to Cosmos and then go to Osmosis? Or start from Cosmos and then go to Stride and then straight to Osmosis? It can be really confusing for people, and then if you take the wrong path, your asset's not going to be recognized as a token that you expect it to be on the destination chain. And I think that's one of the things IBC technology has to improve on. I believe Polymer is working on some IBC improvements, and maybe they come up with a solution to solve this IBC path issue. But I think that's like one of the major challenges in Cosmos liquid staking. You're on Cosmos chain, but you have to like trust in some other chain security, like let's say Strider or like Quicksilver. But that's really risky. Like you can't really trust. You don't really know who they are, and you're like if that app chain goes wrong, your Cosmos chain asset goes wrong as well. So I think we need to solve that issue and make the UX better for the users to be able to get the liquid staking tokens going more. Like Stake Ether is now ranked I think it's like ranked top 7 in CoinGecko market cap. But I don't think Stake Atom is getting as much traction as Stake ETH. And there are like problems like this that we have to solve to get it more, get it going more.
We can prescribe them ICS for all liquid staking providers, and like I think that's the maybe I'm saying something that's wrong here, but I don't see how you can get better economical security aside from going with ICS unless you actually manage to capture a lot of value with your separate chain and get beyond the Cosmos Hub. The last chain to do that had a fairly interesting value proposition. but more seriously speaking, yeah, I think that that's definitely a very interesting risk that you highlight here, and that's also why I believe we're seeing it's getting traction definitely, but it's not at Ethereum's level yet maybe, but it's just because if you're taking the decision to stake $100 million worth of asset on a chain which has an economical security that's basically the size of your stake, it wouldn't be a good risk management approach to decide to do this. And until we find a solution to address this, we might stagnate when it comes to growth of liquid staking on the interchain as a whole.
I think IBC is really a double-edged sword in Cosmos for liquid staking, because if you look at Ethereum or other L2s, there's really redundant functions being built on each L2 or on Ethereum, like Lido. You have to rebuild it over and over again. But in Cosmos, because we have IBC, Stride can handle minting of IBC assets on their own. They don't have to build a dApp on every single app chain. So that's very good. But like Gorany and everyone said, it takes away a lot from the user experience, because you have to IBC in, mint, IBC out, and then there's all these different steps. Obviously, it's in Cosmos because we can control gas fees. It's not as expensive, but still, there's a lot of blockers for onboarding new users because of this process. And every time you have more transactions, that also opens up attack vectors and potential security risks. So I think it really needs to be managed in a way that we can onboard the better UX experience of other L1s and L2s while having this freedom of interoperability that current liquid staking providers have on Cosmos.
Yeah, I think I will echo most of the things that other members just said. But the key success factor of a liquid staking protocol is providing a robust utility for the shadow assets or the like staked tokens like ST ETH or ST Atom. So if you look into Lido, like if you stake through Lido, you get ST ETH, and you can use ST ETH on multiple other like DeFi protocols like Compound or Aave. As collateral, or that you can do like basically a lot of things with ST ETH. And that is the reason why users actually use liquid staking, because you can accrue the yields through staking while also having that liquidity to use DeFi protocols. But when it comes to the context of Cosmos, since all these like different like applications are like spread across all these different app chains, and since you have to kind of like bunny hop like through all these like, different IBCs to actually use the DeFi applications, this that creates a big hurdle, I guess, in terms of UX for the users, and because there is such a big blocker, the like utility or the actual usage of the ST Atom or like staked whatever Cosmos assets is suffering from like less adoption, I guess. So this is a problem that must be like solved through a like kind of like technical breakthrough through the IBC.
Like important topics were here, like security, yes, UX matters as well. So yes, thank you guys for just like mentioning that. And this is kind of like a spontaneous question, but like there are many Cosmos projects that are being launched this year or like coming soon. Just wanted to ask you guys, and I know you guys are all like participating in testnets and like something like that. So, like, what are the Cosmos projects that you guys are excited about? That's like in stealth mode or launch?
Well, we're definitely excited about Polymer.
Polymer, yes.
With the host of the IBC Summit. And yeah, I hope when Polymer comes in as a mainnet, I hope they solve a lot of IBC UX problems, because IBC right now is good, it's very good, but like in terms of like IBC routes and stuff, like we have some limitations, and I think that's a really important area that we can get some infrastructure development on.
Nice.
I guess I think there are certain like pillars or like core like DeFi protocols that needs to be there for an ecosystem to thrive as a whole, and some of those are like DEXs, like swaps, and like stable coins, like etc. And on top of that, there should be like perpetual protocols, and one of the like two of them is DYDX, and like Say is launching their own chain, and a lot of the perpetual like protocols will be launching on top of Say. So I think that like looking into those areas would be exciting.
True.
There's also like Nibiru chain, which is providing a full suite of financial primitives, and that is actually built with the Cosmos SDK, which is coming up soon and has done like the first some first iterations of its testnets. And yeah, I actually love what Polymer DAO is doing, Polymer Lab, sorry. And the only thing is that, yeah, I think that if you want trust minimized bridging, the gold standards would be to be as close as possible to IBC or whatever guarantees the validity proofs can offer. But I'm just excited to see how we're going to go beyond just having a multi-sig that always has the last word on which parcel gets relayed from point A to point B, etc., etc. But still very excited about these developments, and IBC is expensive, not as expensive, but growing thanks to initiatives like Polymer. And then there's the first instance of Anoma, which is called Namada, that I'm very excited about with my team.
Yeah, definitely number one project that I'm excited about and that's on our radar is Polymer.
Well,
Polymer.
anything else besides Polymer? We mentioned
But,
Polymer too
you know,
much. I think
anything
Peter
else?
loves it.
Not really, but you know, I heard
Namada.
Crescent is coming out with a perpetuals. I heard, I'm not sure, but Crescent will be doing perpetual
Nice.
soon, and we're also excited about Say, and we're working with Celestia as well for a Crescent outpost. Yeah, I think there's a lot of potential and a lot of innovations happening going into the second half of this year. So there's a lot that we're excited about.
I forgot Bera chain.
It really exists, though. Yeah.
It does. It does. Like they have Polaris and it's in. Okay. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, great to hear so many upcoming projects. We also have like, for your information, guys, who's not really familiar with Cosmos, like DYDX, like Anoma, what else? Celestia for sure. Polymer is coming soon, so stay tuned. And yeah, as you've like mentioned, Duality is launching and like Strides, like in live already, but like still like they're also preparing for ICS. So a lot of things are happening on Cosmos, and please stay tuned for a lot of exciting Cosmos projects. And yeah, also, but I think before we wrap up, I just want to like maybe get some questions from the panel, from the crowd. Do you guys have any questions? Maybe Adrian? Koreans, let's show some questions.
Who do you delegate to?
Oh,
I see. Yeah.
okay. Okay, yes, thank you for a question.
Hi, I'm Matt from Osmosis. I have a question regarding validator. How do you guys define being a good validator? Like, yeah.
So I actually wrote a tweet about this yesterday. If you have a terminal illness, would you rather get surgery from one veteran doctor or 100 first-time nurses? So we think it's probably the doctor, right? So depending on what chain you're validating on and what chain you're doing governance voting for, I think you need a certain level of knowledge and expertise in that field, whether it be DeFi or infrastructure. So we think a good validator is a well-rounded, educated, knowledgeable team that knows how to make decisions on each chain based on what's good for, in terms of economics, finances, or just having expertise in that field would be a good validator.
I think that if you take you go on smart stake analytics system, like the Cosmos version of it for the hub, you can have access to some data, but that's not really what's important. I think that on a given semester, you have a lot of events, critical events, that allow you to assess the level of focus and involvement of a given validator versus the others. Who shows up on the rehearsals? Who shows up on a hub update? Who doesn't? So out of this, you can already start to draw a grade of a good validator and a bad validator. Of course, you'll never be able to know if that Axelar validator is running his own RPCs or if he's using a third server, like maybe like another provider. You won't be able to know if he's using threshold signing or running everything like in a very basic way, let's put it this way. But I think that some events, the level of involvement of a given validator tells a lot about how they operate things and how seriously they take the mission. And then there's governance. I feel like, and maybe I'm just I'm hallucinating here, but I feel like a lot of validators are following a trend so that they keep good relationships with strong stakeholders on a given network. And so they tend to vote yes just to go with the flow, even though when you have a chat with them, they don't really seem to support that thing. And you're like, but your decision is not aligned with like how you're reading the situation technically. I see him, I don't know, it seems that I see a lot of it. And I think that, it's important to see how a validator behaves and what rationale they give behind each of the decisions that they take. Not unlike a decision to rebalance incentives on a given osmosis pool, because there are a lot of decisions like that, but on a big upgrade that would, for instance, change osmosis on the hub, it's very important to go on their blog or on their Discord and their forum to see what they have to explain. So yeah, you have events to assess a validator, and you can just benchmark them this way, I believe.
So if you put yourself in the shoes of a delegator, you just stake your tokens to a given validator, and that means you're taking risks. You have the unbonding period versus you're getting the yields. So basically, what you want is finding the right players who can actually help the ecosystem growth and accrue value to the tokens that you're actually staking. And each of the different ecosystems require different help from a lot of various players. There are definitely certain areas that validators can definitely step up and help. But I personally believe that each validators have different strengths, and based on your analysis of a given chain, if you think a certain chain requires a lot of the like technical kind of support or like support from a product, then you would like go and find the right a validator that has such strengths. And compared to that, if they need a marketing support, then you should go out and find those who have those capabilities. And I also do 100% agree with Sam that on the fact that validators that actually show up for like important events are actually those who do actually contribute to the ecosystems that they participate in. And one of the events that comes into my mind is definitely the Cosmos Prop 82. Which was about like Atom 2.0, and there were a lot of like spicy discussions going on Twitter and also Discord and whatever channels, and see how people like or how each validators are actively engaging with a given topic, and if you find the right player that has the same thoughts or the same line of like criteria for voting, then you should just go with them, I guess.
I would say there's like two ways to look at to find out who's the good validator. Like if you look at it from a developer side, like you probably want a validator that contributes a lot to the chain as like on a GitHub or something. But if you look at it from a retail side, maybe like contributing as contributing on GitHub, it doesn't really matter that much. But you want to make sure that the validator is gonna stay there for good. Like once you delegate to a validator, you really kind of forget about who you delegated to for a while. It's gonna stay there for a while, and you don't know. Like someday, the validator might have their commission 0%, and then like a week later, and then their commission is like 100%. You're not making any profit out of it, but you don't really find out about it unless you go to their website and check it. So you want a validator that's always there and always not gonna lie to the delegators, and not be changing their commission every day, or just all of a sudden stop validating for that chain. And if you delegate to a validator that was giving you 0% commission, but like 2 weeks later they just leave the ecosystem, and your assets are getting slashed hard. I mean, and a lot of times you don't even get an alarm for that. you don't know what's happening to your assets, and so that's the one point. It's the stability is really important. But I'm not. But you can look at a lot of aspects of a validator on Minscan. So we're building Minscan V2 that's coming out in July. It is now under a public closed beta. And if you go in there, you can actually look at the validator scores. Minscan analyzes the validator's performance in a lot of criteria and puts it out there for like retails and chains to look at how they're doing in this aspect and that aspect. So it's definitely something you guys should check out when it comes out in July.
Well,
One thing I wanted to add to that actually, so a couple of us came here literally 2 days ago, actually no, yesterday from Prague. There was Gateway to Cosmos held by Rockway, and Rockway, just to add to Gorany's point about these kinds of tooling, Rockway also has an application called Observatory where you can go in and they have validator scoring. So yeah, there's more and more tooling coming out where you can learn more about how validators perform against different metrics and how you can think through like what a good validator is.
and to add to one tooling, Keplr supports. I just haven't talked much about Keplr, so I just wanted to add a little bit of that. We have this dashboard for the validators where it's just like a Rotten Tomato, if you guys are familiar with that. you guys can you can see how the validators voted and the reason for that. Because so besides just roaming around Discord or like Twitter, you can just check that validator dashboard, which is on Keplr.app. And yeah, like there are many toolings for validators that are coming up, so I'm really excited for that.
I think it's also important to be careful when you're trying to assess too technically a validator. Like I mentioned the Smart Stake Explorer, which is definitely interesting because it tells you exactly like how often or versus the average the guy is missing a block on the last 10,000 blocks. But missing blocks is, let's say, fine, but there are always validators that will look to make sure that they have perfect networking and they're very well integrated within the the network and have good performances. So it's something you can also take a look at, but it might suggest that some validators have actually looked at the configuration of their default Gaia and that some disabled snapshotting or archiving and are like doing some little optimization so that they actually get the right results, or they have a machine with enough IOPS, etc. So it's also interesting to take a look at, but it shouldn't be critical to take a decision. But yeah, looking at the amount of missed blocks is interesting, and I have a feeling that a lot of these scores that are coming up use this as a metric to assess a validator, which is perfectly fine. But yeah.
So there was one more question from, so yeah, I think we're a little bit running out of time. So yeah, let's just maybe short question, short answer, please. Thank you.
I have two quick questions. One is that as a validator, is slashing a concern for you? And if slashing is a concern for you, and if there is an insurance to cover the slashing risk, would you like to have it?
Yes, slashing is very, very important. Getting not slashed is very important, and having the right plans to cover for the slashed assets is also important for validators. And whether the method should be having an insurance or covering up with all your balance is up to the validator, I guess. But if there is a right product out there, I guess it will be something that all validators would be interested.
I think one answer is fine. I actually had one question I also wanted to ask. Considering this is IBC Summit and there's more to IBC than just validators, I'm curious how you all think of relayer infrastructure and how, whether or not you have whether or not you run relayers, why or why not, if you have plans to, and what organizations like ours could do to better incentivize that.
So we're not really running relayers right now. There are a few reasons we're not running relayers at the moment. So we haven't really been discussing about running relayers with the foundations, and there is really I'll say no concrete agenda or structure for relayers right now. It's out there, and I believe some foundations might be funding some relayers. Some are not funded, just they're just there on its own. But I think there should be more structured way of managing relayers right now, because decentralization is good, but sometimes you need some structure so that everyone can understand what's in it for them and what is required of the relayers.
I don't know about Node Guardians, but I think we're one of the only teams that run a lot of relayers. But partially this is because we also run Crescent, so we run our own relayers. But I know from our team, feedback that we've gotten is there's not a lot of incentives coming from foundations or chain operators for running relayers. It's just not financially there yet. There's not, like Gorany said, there's not concrete plans or incentive programs for running relayers. So I think a lot of teams are very hesitant in running something that's, a lot of OOP expenses. Obviously we do it because of Crescent and we're good at it, but it's just not there yet for other teams, I think.
I think the amount of relayers is sometimes bound to the existence of a delegation program or things like that. But For the case of Node Guardians, we actually do not run relayers for now. It is something that we might be doing pretty soon, but we are not there yet, and we're in discussion with some upcoming mainnets that will support to provide this. But that's not something that we do formally, but we've been playing around with this.
Yes, A41 doesn't run relayers as well, and I think there should be a set playbook or a program for the infrastructure players to run the relayers, because just kind of expecting some more delegations from foundations by running relayers is really kind of obscure, I guess. So having that incentive playbook would definitely drive a lot of more infrastructure players to have the relayers set up.
Well, I think we're running out of time, so let's just wrap it up. Thank you so much, Tree, Sam, Ethan, Gorany, and yeah, really excited that you guys are here. And please stay tuned until the rest of IBC Summit. So thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.